meet you.
How's it going?
Yeah, so why don't we first start by defining racial profiling? Because under some definitions, I'd probably agree that it's always wrong. But under a different definition, I might say that it's sometimes justified. So I'm going to say it twice. You let me know if you're okay with us using this definition for the argument.
Okay.
Racial profiling is the practice of using a person's race or ethnicity as a factor in determining suspicion of criminal activity or in making law enforcement decisions. I'll repeat that one more time. Racial profiling is the practice of using a person's race or ethnicity as a factor in determining suspicion of criminal activity or in making law enforcement decisions.
Yeah. So that's basically when you like look at somebody and you kind of like judge, like when you judge a book by its cover.
Kind of. So I would say it's basically just saying that race should be eligible as a factor for law enforcement to consider in evaluating the suspicion of certain individuals for criminal activity or in making other law enforcement decisions.
Like, would it be a good example, like, say, like, you automatically suspect, like, say a black person is up to no good?
No, I don't think that that'd be a good example with this definition. That would be an example of racial profiling that I would say is always wrong.
Oh, okay.
But like an example where I think it would be justified would be if during, say, like the 1950s or 1960s in America, say a law enforcement officer was working in the South and there was a black civil rights leader who was registering people to vote, registering primarily African Americans to vote.
Right.
And he knew that the last, let's just say, and this is a hypothetical, let's just say the last 20 out of 20 attacks on black civil rights leaders were by white Americans. And then he gets a call that there's an attack at a black civil rights leader's home, and he sees a suspect going in one direction who's black in a truck, and he sees a suspect going in the other direction who's white in a truck. All else is equal. The trucks are the same. You go for the white one, the white person, right? And so that's allowing race to be a factor that is considered by law enforcement, not just based on artificial prejudice that doesn't help anything, but based on objective data. So any prejudice that's being based just because someone hates black people, I think that's obviously wrong. Or someone hates white people, I think that's all obviously wrong. But using objective data as a factor, not saying it has to be even the primary factor, but just as something that's eligible for consideration, I think that that's acceptable in some cases.
And one thing, my take on it is, this is more like modern-wise. I feel like, specifically for black people, I feel like some of us are so quick to like take offense to being racially profiled. Like, for example, like I can't think of a good example, but I feel like it's personally how you carry yourself as a black person. Because I feel like as a black person, you're already like, for example, Allendale, like this is a PWI. So already there are people who are going to like look at us absurd. Because some people are just naturally like, they look at black people and they're like, okay. So I think it is like how we how we carry ourselves. Because I do, like as a black person myself, there are people who like, even here, who like set us back. Like a prime example is like playing loud music at 2 a.m. Did you know there was a stabbing here?
I heard about it, but I don't know any of the details. I just know that there was
basically
a stabbing.
It was a black person who stabbed another black person, and it's just like I feel like I feel like we just get set back so many times, and it's so many things to where it's like at this point I'm not surprised that we're getting racially profiled because white people can't see like, you know, what type of black person you are, because there are different types of black people. You know, there are black people who, like, to be honest, carry themselves in a negative manner, who do negative things, and then there are black people who are more just like
upright citizens,
right? Just
good people.
Citizens, and people can't tell the difference, so it's gonna happen. And also, I don't know if this is anything. Would you define this as profiling? I went to the gas station. This has happened twice. I think one time was an old white guy. The other time was an old Indian guy. It was actually here. It was like 3 days ago. They kept like staring at me. At first I didn't think anything of it because I'm like, oh, okay, I'm just chilling. But everywhere I went, because I had a friend with me, and he kept like staring at me, and he, like at no point did his eyes go off of me. And I tested the theory. I went all the way to the back, and I looked at the drinks, and out the corner of my eye, I just see him like just staring at me. So we go up there, we buy our stuff, and then I turn to look at him, and my friend told me when I looked away, the dude gave me the most like mean mug ever. Would you consider that racial profiling or stereotyping?
That's interesting. I'd say to some extent possibly.
Yeah, because I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt.
I don't know that it's necessarily always going to be unjustified though, because say that like, let's just say it was a store employee instead of like a random stranger, right? If the store employee has data that like black people disproportionately commit high amounts of theft, then he's essentially just working on objective data, not any sort of like unjustified racial prejudice or anything like that.
That's why I try not to take it like he's just doing his job.
Yeah, he's just trying to protect his store.
Because I see both sides of that. I
Yeah.
can see like why are you looking at me as a black person? You think I'm gonna steal?
Because the other thing is, imagine that the store owner or employee was black himself, and he's just trying to protect his property, and he's
Exactly.
racial profiling. Does that mean he's racist? I don't think so.
Exactly. That's how I would like to see how I would feel if it was a black person that stared me down like that as an employee. So that stuff like that does make me curious, like, because you can never tell with stuff like that, like what is what, you know what I mean? But yeah.
The other thing I'd want to point out too is it's not like the races that right now commit certain crimes disproportionately are going to be the races that in 100 years or 200 years commit crimes disproportionately. That stuff can change over time because groups of people change over time, cultures change over time. So I think some people like see the sign and think that like I'm like a racist or I don't have like a principled position, but that's obviously not the case because there's probably some crimes that white people commit disproportionately high rates, and I would be someone who would be profiled in those circumstances.
Yeah.
And I think that that's morally acceptable as well.
Can we talk about you said abortions too?
Yeah, yep.